Good morning, everyone. This is the Tuesday, December 13th, 2022 meeting of the Dunn County Planning, Resource and Development Committee. It looks like all members of the committee are present. I'll call the meeting to order. Approval of the minutes from November 22nd. Do I have a motion? Advisor. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, corrections, additions? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Minutes are approved. Do we have any public comments other than the public hearing later on? None, okay. Then we'll move into the public hearing. So this is a hearing to consider a rezone map amendment from GA to R2. And let me just explain a little bit. So with that, I'll call the hearing to order. And the way we'll work is we'll have are you the applicants?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll have the staff kind of confirm that all the proper notices were made and then provide a staff report which overviews the project. The committee will ask questions potentially. And then if you or any else from the public has any comments you want to make, we welcome them. Since it is a public hearing, this is the only opportunity for public comment on it. And we do ask that testimony be provided under oath. So if you want to testify, you don't have to, but if you want to, I ask you to go up to the microphone and we'll do a quick swearing in and go on from there. Then we'll probably adjourn the hearing and most likely take action on your request right away. Okay. With that, then I'll turn it over to confirm, first of all, that all the members of the committee are present and turn it over to Ann for a staff report.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So today we're going to talk about a rezone application from Jesse and Lynn Nigaman. They're in the town of Tainter. It's 4 lots and it's approximately 9.5 acres total. They are requesting a zoning and map amendment to rezone the parcels from general agriculture to GA. And on your screen there, you can see where I've outlined that in red, those four lots there. The applicants own 4 adjoining lots totaling approximately 9.5 acres along 850th Avenue in the town of Tainter. The land has been used by Lakeland Organics since it was purchased in 2015. The land here has been described as not high quality and produces low yields. The applicant would like to rezone to R2 so that duplexes can be built on the lots. And this is seen as a better investment due to the state of the economy and would benefit the community due to the increased housing demand. General features of the property. It is zoned as general agriculture, as you can see. Past zoning was agricultural residential. This was changed to general ag as part of the comprehensive rezone that occurred in 2014. The past and current use of the property is for crop production. And in the packet in the staff report, I have included some of the uses that are allowed in residential zoning. If you guys have any questions about that, we can cover that. But I'm just going to summarize things and feel free to ask questions later. The existing use can continue on the property regardless of whether the proposed rezoning is approved or denied. The proposed use of the parcels for duplexes is not permitted under the current zoning designation. However, it would be permitted under the proposed zoning designation as residential too. Development trends in the area. Adjacent land is zoned as general ag, and there is a cluster of about 16 lots designated as R1 that is directly to the southwest. So the trend in this area does seem to be going toward residential. It is indicated as low agricultural importance on the Dunn County Comprehensive Plan soil productivity map. And by rezoning this, we would not be taking any land out of the farmland preservation program. Compatibility with the comprehensive land use plan. The Dunn County Comp Plan identifies the preferred land use of the subject area as residential ag. And the most current version of the town of Dunn's preferred land use map shows the subject area as rural residential. So based on the analysis by staff and findings included in this packet, zoning staff recommend approval of the applicant's request to rezone the subject property from general agriculture to residential 2. That concludes the staff report.
Thank you, Ann. Does the committee have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, may I? I have a couple of questions. Did the town, was the town formally consulted?
Yes, sorry for skipping over that part. Yes, the town did approve of this request.
Okay. And second question, you know, as the person who's, you know, spearheading the housing study and all of that, I mean, I totally agree with the idea of multiple family dwellings, but I'm sort of hard pressed to see how this is not spot zoning.
If you look at the map here,
Yeah,
residential 1 right there.
right.
So this would be also a residential use. It is also part of the town's future land use plan and the county's future land use plan. So to me, as in zoning, this does demonstrate that it's following a plan that was preconceived, and it's not necessarily for the benefit of the property owner, but is for the community as well. And that would not make me concerned about spot zoning.
Okay, that makes me feel better, Ann. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Are there anyone else who would like to speak to this? Do you feel like you want to say anything? Okay, anyone else? All right. Any last comments? Not hearing none, I will close public hearing. Thank you. And without objection, then I would move that we move on the agenda, move item 9A up to this point and consider action on the rezone request at this time. Is that okay with everybody? Are there any, would anyone care to make a motion, I guess?
I will, Mr. Chair, I move that we follow the recommendation of staff and approve the rezone.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Supervisor Bjork,
But this will, the county board, right?
right?
We just recommend that.
Right. We'll let go be next month, I guess, right?
It should be in January.
Yeah, okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Okay. All in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, motion is approved. Thanks, Ann. Thank you, guys. Let's go back to the agenda then. I guess we're on staff reports, starting with the Register of Deeds monthly report. Just go through these.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to note that we are having an open house tomorrow in our office, just in trying to reconnect with some of our business partners. So it's from 11 to 3. You're welcome to stop by. Hopefully the weather holds. So we actually have so that people can come out and visit. But yeah, stop by for a treat if you're in the area. And then I also wanted to point out our new financial report. It's a little different than what we have been providing in the past. This I think our finance department created in the hopes of creating consistent reporting. So if there's any questions on that, this is the report that you'll see moving forward each month.
Any questions? Okay, thanks. Environmental Services. Mr. Carl.
Good morning, everyone. One thing I guess I'd just like to highlight in my report, unless there's any other questions, is I attended we have quarterly meetings of the Wisconsin County Surveyors Association, and I serve on the board of directors. So we typically meet in Neillsville, although some of the meetings are in Wood County. But this last meeting in November was in Clark County, and I just thought it'd be a good idea to perhaps attach a copy of our agenda, just so you're kind of aware of some of the subject matter that we discussed during these meetings. It's a hybrid meeting. A lot of the county surveyors attend in person, but some also, don't want to drive from, say, Milwaukee, so they attend by Zoom. There's always a variety of very interesting topics, and it's just a good opportunity to connect with my peers around the state and find out some of the things they're dealing with in their counties, and perhaps sharing ideas and work through problems that we all have relating to land surveying and land division and things of that nature. So that was our meeting agenda. Are there any questions on my report? If not, I'll get into my financial report. So the report, my financial report that was in the packet is incorrect. Was working with our CFO at the time, and some tweaks I identified some issues with the report. Some of the numbers didn't look right. So we ended up working through some formulas that were incorrect, and I didn't receive the correct revised report until about 2 days after the packet went out. So I'm gonna show you a new report here. So so this is my revised budget report, and as Heather had mentioned, our CFO has designed this so we have consistent reporting. And one thing I'll add, in addition to what Heather had mentioned, is that we now have projections in here, so you can see, as managers, we're tasked with projecting our budget out through the end of the year to give the committee and I guess, all county board members and the public for that matter, an idea of where we're at with our budgets. So just looking at my numbers here, positives are a good thing. So under revenue, it says licenses and permits, but that's land division review. We're projected to take in a surplus of about just over $6,000. And these projections, by the way, I feel are very accurate. We know where we're at through October and only projecting out 2 more months. So interdepartmental revenue, that's work we do for the highway department and bill them for that. So we're going to take in about 10,000 more than we anticipated. And I'll just stress this number as a in and out, right? I mean, it's revenue for us, but it's an expense for the highway department. So it's, I guess keep that in perspective. Our revenue is their expense. Salary and fringe expense, we're projected to come under budget by about $8,000. And then our operating, which is our gasoline, small items of equipment, conferences, those things that are non-salary and fringe, we're projected to have a small increase there, or cost savings or overage, I guess. We're underspending that. So in the grand scheme of things, we're in the black. We're projecting, I guess, to be in the black by about 26,000, which is a good thing. So any questions?
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman,
okay.
so that projected profit, can you keep that, or does that go back to general fund and start all over again with your new budget, or can you?
It goes back into the general fund. We don't carry it forward or anything
Okay,
like that.
okay.
Yep.
That's good, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else for Tom? All right, sorry about that last part, Tom. Yeah.
So just give me a second here, Tom. Zoom has a conflict when you have multiple PDFs open. So let me get back into the packet here for you. Hopefully this will work. Okay, now we're back in order.
I guess I don't have a lot to add other than, we've, since this came out, we have posted the job opening that's in our division. And I did get a little peek and there are some applicants in there. There's a few. We're not expecting a lot, but I'm excited to know that we at least have a few in, and it's only been posted for less than a week.
Good.
Oh, I have one more thing, sorry. So Janet's last day is this Friday, and we will be having a little potluck gathering on Thursday if anyone would like to stop by and wish Janet well. She's been here a long time and we're gonna miss her.
Okay, any questions of Ann? What time is that? Potluck?
I think we're starting about 11:30, kind of into the afternoon. Thursday, yep.
You got us all on when you said potluck, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, you got us at potluck, yeah. Chase, go ahead.
Well, there's a few things going on. One thing to highlight would be the water quality private well monitoring program. The heat group, through some grant funds that they had, helped boost the advertising for that and sent out, probably everyone should have received something in the mail, advertising that water monitoring program. And as a result, Heather's phone has turned into a call center, and their
Oh, really?
email. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's had to clear, we know the capacity of a voicemail system because there's so many on there. So there's over 500, probably going to be pushing 600 people that have signed up for that program already. We were anticipating 1,000 is what our goal is. So we're well on our way. So that's a good sign. Hopefully those will continue to trickle in. And then I don't know, I guess there's a few other things there. Also included in this packet is the Red Cedar Water Quality Partnership Report for 2021. Has a lot of good information in there to help share the work that's being done within the greater Red Cedar watershed. And then there's also a flyer in there for the Red Cedar Conservation Farmer-led Watershed Group has a winter meeting they're planning coming up on Monday. So if you're interested, let us know and we'll get you on the short list for the meal, and also share it with those that you have your connections with. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions or talk more about the financial report.
Any questions for Chase? Just a general one, Chase. Are there any things about the Red Cedar Partnership report that you thought were worth noting, or?
Well, of course, our part.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a couple things in there. Thanks for asking, actually. This covers all the counties and any entity that's working within the watershed. So it includes lake groups, includes county land conservation departments, farm-led watershed groups. Certainly the portions that we've contributed, you can read through our farmer-led watershed efforts, look at the nutrient reductions that are in there, that our county is contributing to through our programming. However, there's I guess a good news and bad news. The good news is when you look at the very last graph in the report, there's a monitoring station below the dam in Menominee on the Red Cedar River, and phosphorus trends are trending down, which is a good sign. This Red Cedar Watershed Quality Partnership report, the TMDL, the 9 key element plan is all focused a lot on phosphorus because that was the driving force behind algae blooms and poor water quality. While we're still seeing that poor water quality, there's no doubt there. The trend in phosphorus concentration is trending down, which is a good sign. Hopefully with time, and we don't know how long that will be, but with time that we will see a reflection of that in some fashion within the water itself. I believe might be the next one, Tom, or maybe the one above it. I'm not sure. There's another chart. Yep, right there. That one, the nitrate concentration is on the rise within the watershed, within the river. So based on input from Stout and some of the biology department that specifically researching nitrates impact on algae. Unfortunately, nitrate can cause the algae blooms to be more intense and more toxic than they were before. So we have these tug of war here with who gets to be the dominant poor water quality contributor. So this gives us pause to really reflect on our nutrient management strategies, impacts of nitrogen in the system and how it may or may not be leaching into groundwater, which can be contributing to, likely is contributing to surface water concentration, but also still overland flow, loss of nitrogen, nitrate through erosion and that sort of thing. So we still have plenty of work to do, but it's important to know that there are some improvements. However, there's other things that we need to be concerned with.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Tom. As I looked at that report and we have heard recently that nothing's being done. So it was very nice to read that and to recognize that it's so long term. The things that we're doing have been working on for a long time. It's going to take a while. So thank you for a great report. And in general, you guys give reports each month and we say, oh, okay, but they're all really good. And I like seeing them. It's educational for me but also to see what's going on. So you're always doing a good job, even when we don't mention it. So thanks.
Yeah, I would just add that, Tom, if you go back up a little bit, right, go down to that last chart right there. When you look at, like the pounds of phosphorus that are being reduced, in that year, we're looking at, 12,000 pounds of phosphorus reduced in the watershed. And what that really means in the surface water itself is so small. But if I think what will be interesting in future reports, we may consider putting a dollar amount attached to that 12,000 pounds of phosphorus, because I think it's depressing to see how much money it costs to reduce those small pounds of phosphorus. So I mean, when you think about the notice of discharge grant that we'll be getting in the coming year for a project that's can be about a $1.3 million project in total, and the amount of phosphorus that we'll get off of that is going to be, certainly it'll be in the pounds, maybe even tens. I doubt it'll be hundreds of pounds, but tens of pounds. And we need to spend over $1 million to achieve that. So yeah, we do have a long way to go.
Which since we're talking about kind of the big picture, maybe you could talk a little bit about, this is all about, this partnership is about complying, about how an effort for our area to comply with the TMDL requirement that the EPA put on us, right? So the idea was that the Clean Water Act basically targeted point sources at first. And now they're saying, well, you still have a long ways to go. You have an impaired river here. Now we need to look at non-point sources. And so that partnership and this plan is designed to do that. But we have a long way to go, as you point out.
Right.
What's does the plan have a time on it? Does it get set for a number of years?
Yeah, it's a 10-year, the 9 key element plan, which is the implementation plan for the TMDL, is a 10-year plan, and that's set to expire, I believe, in 25 or 26. So in the next year, there will be work beginning to evaluate all the information that we have before us that's been done in the past, and look to strategies in the future. So.
May I, Mr. Chairman? I was impressed once again, I think I'm echoing Mike's point, by the number of partners, the number of people and organizations that are working at this. That sort of makes me feel better about the issue. And sort of to your point, was really struck by the efforts by the city of Menominee, but how for fairly extensive infrastructure expenditures, how relatively small the phosphorus reduction is. It's sort of, it's on the one hand, it's very affirming, and on the other hand, it's kind of depressing.
But also note that you are going to be working with the villages of Elk Mound on a nutrient trading system.
So yeah, the Village of Elk Mound reached out to us. We've talked about the MDV program here before. It's been in my reports, the multi-discharger variant. So that's looking at point sources and reducing their phosphorus output. And how can we offset or buy time for those point sources to get the infrastructure built to reduce their phosphorus limits set by their permits. The other related to that is typically known as adaptive management. The MDV program is part of that. Also part of adaptive management is the water quality trading program. So in the case of the Village of Elk Mound, their permit requires a certain threshold for phosphorus discharge to surface water. And they're reaching out to us to try to partner to offset their need to build infrastructure because it's so costly. Can we put some of that investment onto the landscape to reduce the equal amounts of phosphorus reduction? So typically it's on a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 basis. So we're trying to evaluate right now staff capacity and how we fit that into our workload, which obviously wasn't planned for 23, but I think it's a valuable partnership and one that we can see conservation installed on the landscape, whether that's through set aside buffers, other phosphorus reduction methods. So.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? All right, thanks. As Mike pointed out, the reports are always really well done, and thank you so much. So that takes us through 6B. 7A, discuss alternate meeting times for the committee. So Monica asked that we put this on the agenda because she has a teaching load requirement that's going to prevent her from attending the PR&D meetings at this time. Monica, can you sort of explain your situation maybe to us?
Yeah, sorry. So starting middle of next January, I'm going to be teaching a class Tuesday and Thursday mornings, which is going to conflict with this meeting time. So I'm just hoping we can find a different time.
Well, my first question to the committee and the staff is there another time a later time on Tuesday that would work for people? Or not?
My question would be, like, once this, semester is done, can we go back to the, original schedule?
We can make a change anytime we want to, as long as we do follow a procedure. Yeah.
Okay.
So just to clarify, this is for the entire spring semester. So starting mid-January through about June or May.
Okay. The staff have any, you obviously looked or thought about this a little bit. Any recommendations that fit your schedule? Or are you pretty flexible?
I'm flexible,
Okay.
whether it's later in the day on Tuesday or perhaps a different day.
Any thoughts?
May I?
Yeah.
I will be in the classroom until 2:30 on Tuesdays.
Okay. So I think Tuesday's out then. Yeah.
Same with Thursdays for me. So what about Monday or Wednesday or Friday mornings at 8:30?
I can't do Friday.
Anybody else? How about Monday?
Can I just comment on Monday?
Sure.
Board of Adjustment is Monday typically, but it's in the evening. It might be a lot for me just saying to do both. But I'd be okay with it. I'd survive if that's the best one for everybody. But in the morning would be better for me. That's all I gotta say.
One thing I'll just interject too, payroll is typically due on Mondays, not every Monday, but depending when the PR&D would fall in relation, I'm sure we could work around that, but it's just some Mondays get hectic with, holidays and, staff taking time off and trying to get payroll in on time as well. Just something to consider.
So where are we at? Diane, you said Wednesdays weren't good for you?
Friday mornings, I have a voluntary.
What
volunteer
about
commitment.
Wednesdays for people? I mean, no.
Could we try Tuesday afternoon after
after 2?
2:30?
Yeah, that could work. So I have a community resource committee meeting, which is like 4 o'clock, I think, and 4:30. And sometimes our meetings go well over 2 hours. Not hopefully not, but if I'm terrible at being a chair, they go well over 2 hours sometimes. So that's a problem. And
And
Monica's gotta be
Wednesday-
at that too. But
And Wednesday for me, I got, highway committee meetings, so that's, sometimes they're in the same week.
Yeah.
It has been anyhow.
Yeah.
If you guys flip to the first and third instead of the second and fourth
oh, there you go. Well,
on Tuesday, would that help?
wouldn't help. Monica.
But if you went to afternoon,
Oh, that could do it. Yeah. If we went to the alternate to first and third Tuesday afternoon at 3:30. What you get done at 2 o'clock, you said, Monica?
My class goes till 2:20. I could probably make 2:45 or later.
Well, if we said 3:30 on Tuesdays, first and third. No, Gary's in the spring. It's gonna be, yeah. Well, okay. Well, I guess we'll have to dissolve the committee. Forget. Let's see. Am I missing something? Is there a date that?
Well, you're in the Highway Transit Committee. That's,
Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock.
yeah, and that's which one? Is that the second?
It's the
Wednesday?
Same week. as
Same
you.
week.
Yeah.
So it's
So if we went to one first and third on a Wednesday? Curly? Would first and third weeks of the month on a Wednesday at 8:30?
it would start you out in the morning and finish you up at night, because that's county board.
Yeah, well, we may have to for a while. I mean, we did it early, Gary, that get you
Yeah.
out of here. Okay, so if we did the first and third Wednesday at 8:30, does that work for you guys?
We were just talking internally here real quick. We could perhaps make Monday mornings work. I mean, I don't want us to be holding up, with this payroll thing.
Well, it wouldn't make any difference to you whether it's,
And Monday would be
we could
okay.
say every days it's raining.
But Monday would be a good day.
And maybe we just need to just real quickly talk about that as far, I get not knowing when payroll is, what Mondays it's due in relation to when we're proposing these meetings, but
It's every 2 weeks?
every 2 weeks.
It's every 2 weeks, not the first and third.
No,
Yeah,
so
right.
what you would rotate into it
Yeah.
eventually.
Eventually it'd be conflict.
Mhm. And I'm sure, I don't want to speak for Ann or Chase, but I guess I would deal with it if that's the way it is. It's for a few months. I think we can get by. Am I
So the
speaking
question
for
would be,
everybody?
is there any advantage from Monday morning at 8:30 to Wednesday morning at 8:30? To the committee?
Make any difference?
I kind of prefer Wednesday myself, but if Monday works best for you, that's fine with me. Monica, would Monday morning work for you? First and third Monday?
Yes, that would work for me. Wednesdays would also work just fine.
Do we need to go to first and third? If we
If
do
we do
Monday?
Mondays? Maybe not.
And well, and just looking at, is this going to affect our timeline in any way with the Lake District? Process.
So my understanding is that this wouldn't change until middle of January, or so our timeline for the Lake District would be over by then, January 18th county board meeting, so.
So we keep on the same schedule through our first January meeting, right? So we're saying, somebody fill me in on what I'm thinking. What was the final option? Monday?
Monday at 8:30, second
Second
and fourth.
Mondays, Mondays. Okay, should we try that? Okay, that's what we're gonna do for now then.
We could just kick Monica off the committee.
Well, there's the other answer, yeah.
I'm sorry, Monica. I didn't mean that.
Sorry for causing a problem.
We can deal with it, it'll be fine.
So Tom,
yes.
just so we get the record straight here, so we are gonna be meeting on the second Tuesday at the normal time in January.
Yep.
But then after that, we're gonna be going to the second and fourth Monday,
Right, and that should fit in okay with that then.
same time, 8:30. Okay.
Okay, all right. Number B, discussion of multifamily housing within general commercial zoning. I think this is for discussion only, but to move the discussion along, and Mike has requested that we keep on this, so I know we'd ask you to give some thought to this. Have you given any more thought to it?
Yeah, so I reached out to a couple sources. So I contacted the West Central Wisconsin, I can't even get the acronym correctly, the Planning Commission, the Regional Planning Commission.
Yeah.
And I spoke with Susan Badke there. She's also part of that housing study that's going on. And we'd kind of talked about this before. Just to kind of get an idea of, what would be a good planning practice, and, if she could see any red flags with it. And, her recommendation was, if they want to remove the current language, that's doesn't seem to be an issue. A lot of counties don't have residential options in commercial. But it was suggested that maybe we want to keep something in there as an accessory use for residential, say in situations where someone like lives above a business, they own the business, or say in for example, Ray Wickey's situation where he has the commercial business on the property and his home is also there. So by completely removing it from both principal and accessory, I would be concerned we'd be creating a lot of legally non-conforming situations, but that might be difficult to track in the future. Another, concern that I had was we have community-based living situations and assisted living homes, and we might want to just tweak the definition of that a little bit to make sure we're not eliminating that from commercial zoning. I'm trying to think if there were any other ones. I also contacted the Wisconsin County Code Administrators and kind of asked for a little feedback on what other counties are doing. I might get more answers, but it does seem like there are a lot of counties that have it as an accessory residence, a single family residence to a principal commercial use. For example, like someone who owns the business or works there, it could be attached or freestanding. And that we might want to address like bed and breakfast establishments possibly. And then we might want to make an exception for areas that have public sewer. But that's kind of all I really saw.
Most of the things you just mentioned were owner occupied, and
So
right now is non-owner occupied.
So to clarify, we are the only county that I've found that specifically calls it out as non-owner occupied. We can totally remove that if you like. I don't see any issue with that. But my suggestion is to maybe not completely eliminate residential use in commercial zoning, make some small exceptions for maybe an accessory use or an attached dwelling, something like that.
Yeah, you got some good feedback. That's good. Don't we have that right now, in, commercial where if it's attached to their,
Yes, but we want to make sure that, when we talked about this before, we gotta remove I want to make sure we're clear on this.
okay, good. Yeah, that's good. So it wouldn't be a change really if we just tweaked it and made sure it was understood. It's the multifamily housing that's really the key.
That was your concern, really, was
Yeah,
the
big
multifamily,
time, yeah.
yep. And I think removing that, language from principal use would change that. And we could change the multifamily as an accessory if you like. That's the
Yeah,
direction.
if it's an accessory, then it's really permitted.
Mhm.
The town of Menominee and my concern too is that we have multifamily housing in a commercial district. And the towns didn't take that into account when they zoned it, but Tom mentioned something before. We want to keep it so that the townships can actually work with a developer. And if something needs to be rezoned, it can. Like the current one that kind of brought this up in the town of Menominee, there's 2 zones now. It's R2 and commercial. So the things you're talking about sound really good, as long as we can get rid of the multifamily housing in commercial as a permitted use of any kind. If somebody wants multifamily housing, all they have to do is work with the township to rezone it.
When you say multifamily housing, are you including duplexes in that? Or would you like to keep single family and duplexes?
Single
As an
family,
accessory.
single family is not an accessory right now, is it?
No,
And duplexes is not an accessory right now.
Nope.
No, so just if you removed it and put it back in the 2015 language, the original language, I think we'd be covered.
so you don't want there to be single family residences in general commercial as an accessory?
There weren't in 2015, were there?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't think there were.
So just to clarify, there were rezones that went through in the last few years that created this situation that have commercial uses and a home on the same property. And I think being in a rural area, I think we shouldn't be eliminating that.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that as an accessory use for a business if it's the owner or something like that. But to just say, okay, you can just put a single family housing on a commercial, it's not even related to the commercial activity.
Mhm.
That's not what commercial is. The idea is with zoning is you separate single family and multifamily and limited commercial and commercial. They're used to kind of separate each other.
Well, technically, isn't it to avoid conflicts, not separate, but to
Yep.
avoid conflicts?
That's kind of what
But
thank you, Tom.
But separation doesn't, you can have like things adjoining each other that are different, but not in conflict with each other.
Right, you generally don't have a commercial next to a single family. You usually have a commercial next to maybe multifamily, and then maybe next to multifamily, you have single family is what I'm getting at. And I think that's what you meant. You explained it better than I did. But no, I have no objection to owner occupied, or if you own a business to have the business right there. But to allow, just look at the 2015 language, and I think that works pretty well. If you feel there's need to make sure that we don't eliminate something like the Whitkey situation, that's fine. That's a
Yeah.
good idea. You mentioned a couple other things to look at. Those are good ideas.
Yeah, and just to kind of summarize my thoughts on it is I don't think we want to be eliminating business opportunities for landowners, especially in rural areas. I mean, we want this county to grow, and I do think there is a need for that. And currently, another issue that kind of I've found just looking at this is that we do have permitting for home occupations. The square footage for that is only 750 feet. I mean, that is a really small area. So that'd be something that maybe we want to look at along with this one, just so we're not reducing these opportunities for people to have an income. I mean, it's just, I think it's a touchy one, and I want to make sure I'm making everybody satisfied, but those are just my concerns.
Well, those are good concerns. And I think if you have a in-home business, there are restrictions already placed on it. And so, yeah, those are all good things to look at. But the main thing is the multifamily housing in particular in commercial. Doesn't belong. And I don't know what you'd like to do next, Tom, but it'd be kind of nice to have just something to look at to see what would happen if we did this or that. I don't know what you're thinking.
Mike, when you say you think it just simply does not belong there, you can't imagine a situation in which that would be acceptable or?
Well, I can't think of a situation. If you want multifamily housing, you rezone to R3.
What
It's-
if you wanted multifamily housing above a small commercial building?
Something like you might see in a city or, yeah. Well, if the town thought that was a good idea, there's probably other ways they could work around it. Have, those are good devil's advocate points, something to consider, but can easily have a strip mall and then adjacent to it, housing if it's rezoned.
Or not so much a strip mall, but I mean, your commercial district in a rural area, for example.
Yeah.
That was like a sort of a mini downtown, which I think you're starting to see a little bit of around the country.
You know, when you see that, do you think those are appropriate when you're just using septic systems and so forth? That's something the
Well, that's true.
township should be able
That's
to,
true. Yeah.
should be able to look at.
That's a good point.
Those are pretty heavy duty developments, and I think you mentioned something about
Yeah.
it connected
Yeah, that's a
to
good point.
sewer
Right.
and stuff.
Have an exception for
Yeah.
publicly connected sewer. You know, and that was what you just said too, was something that the commission had suggested, is that you have something in there that says, you know, you can have the residential use above the ground floor, or has to be attached or not attached. I mean, just things to consider. Yeah, I mean, I potentially could come up with multiple drafts of language. I'm sure the towns will want to look at this stuff and have thoughts and, you know, want to weigh in. But I'm not sure if we're to that state yet, or if we just want to maybe open this for discussion again at another point, or if you have clear direction you want me to take.
I have one last question. What about making it a special exception?
That's possible. We could
Yeah,
put it in
so-
there.
To get to your point, Mike, about negotiation, because the town would have veto power over,
Not a special exception,
I thought they did.
only rezoning.
They could have a recommendation.
Okay.
And I'm sure we could also have standards applied that, you know, we would have to take that into consideration and give it some weight.
But that's not probably sufficient for what you're saying.
But how about, you brought up some really good points to consider in addition to just getting rid of things. How about looking at what we might run into if we did eliminate the multifamily housing, like go back to 2015 and look at, say, oh, this would be a problem now, or did you name two or three things that might need some tweaking?
Just to get better idea of what you're looking for. Do you want me to find situations that would already be existing that would be causing a problem, or just like potential? Or both? Cause I did kind of do that in my presentation that I did before. But
Well, I think
let
some
me
of the
know.
things you brought up today are a little different and interesting, but go ahead, Tom.
Well, I'm just
Help me
saying how
out.
we
Yeah.
move from this level of general discussion to more, to get nailing down what our real opportunities and problems there, so. Maybe if you thought most about this, Mike, do you have a specific suggestion about what would move it forward in discussion? I mean, maybe it's what you said, maybe it's coming back, let's say we reverted back to the previous ordinance. Let's really delineate what the pros and cons would be of that.
That seems like a way to do it. Looking at the actual 2015 language, I think there would be a limited number of paragraphs, lines that we would have a discussion on and just look at, and you could tell us and say, hey, this is one of the areas that is either going to cause a problem or we need to fix. Yeah, the pros and cons would be a little easier to see that way, don't you think?
Sure, yeah. I can put together some pros and cons and just maybe some examples, of things we can already see. I mean, I already can think of places right now that are rural. They have commercial uses, they might want to expand that commercial use, but they live there, they might, that's something that we should be, we're trying to get people to zone commercially if they're using a commercial use. And if we're removing that residential part of it, it's gonna create, I don't know. I'd be worried about that, I guess.
Well, yeah, let's look at the 2015, because I think that takes that into account already, but we can always change that.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Anything else anybody else wants me to kind of look into?
Okay. Thanks. On number 8, I think we move on then to number 8, the variance request from the town of Sand Creek. Mr. Carlson, you have that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have another variance request before the committee this morning. The applicant is Steve and Deanne Pop. They reside in the unincorporated village of Sand Creek. The request this morning, they would like to create a lot which does not meet our 30,000 square foot of contiguous buildable area requirement in the land division ordinance. We've had quite a few of these here, so everybody's familiar with that standard. The applicants could not be here this morning. I should mention that they do have a conflict with their work schedule, so they've asked me to present this for them on their behalf. A little background, the Pops own lots 1, 2, and 3 of block 2 of the original plat of Sand Creek. I'm going to bring that plat up here. It was in your packet as well, but it's a very old plat. It was recorded. Yeah, right. The old script writing, probably done with a feather pen and a vial of ink. The plat was recorded in April of 1878. So we can see block 2 right here where my hand is. They currently own lots 1, 2, and 3 of the plat. So as you can see, the lots are 50 by 100. Each one is about 5,000 square feet. And when you multiply that by 3, they end up with 15,000 square feet, nowhere near the 30,000 square foot requirement. These lots are considered legally existing non-conforming lots. They were created way before the adoption of our current ordinance. The property doesn't fall under county comprehensive zoning, but due to the proximity of the Sand Creek, which is nearby, it's within 300 feet, shoreland zoning is applicable to this property. So they've been working with the zoning office on making some improvements to their property. So at the end of the day, they would like to consolidate their 3 existing platted lots into 1 new lot so that future structures can be placed on the property that are not in conflict with zoning. I'm going to bring up a copy. So they've already, I guess, kind of jumped the gun in my opinion, but they've got a certified survey map already prepared, presuming this is going to go through. So it provides for a very good exhibit for the committee. So this is what it would look like when they're done. They want to combine those 3 platted lots into a brand new lot. You can see their existing home is straddling one of the original platted lot lines. It's my understanding they want to remove the garage and put up some other type of structure there. So there's no map wetlands on the property or anything, no slopes 20% or greater. So the creation of this new lot, the certified survey map, is going to need to comply with our land division ordinance. And again, the 30,000 square foot requirement. So as you can see on here, there's only 15,000 square feet. Section 16.83 of our ordinance allows the applicant to apply for a variance provided certain requirements are met. So let me get back to my report here. So if we look at the analysis of this, the purpose of this contiguous buildable area standard, of course, is to ensure that there's adequate area for building use and sufficient area for the entire on-site water treatment or wastewater treatment system and its replacement. So right now, a home, garage, and a private well exist on the property. This was kind of news to me, but the village, unincorporated village of Sand Creek has a sanitary district, and this property is hooked into that. So that was a big factor in our analysis of this. I mean, they don't need a sewer system and there's no worry about its replacement. So those are two big things right there. So even though the CBA requirement is not met, the items that this requirement intended to include are already existing on the property. So if the variance is not approved today, there's a possibility that each of the existing non-conforming lots could be developed for residential purposes. I don't see that happening, but there's always a possibility. By combining them into one new lot, we essentially eliminate that possibility. So then we get into the variance requirements. The existing platted lots were created long before the adoption date of our ordinance, and again, they're considered existing non-conforming lots. Combining them falls short of the requirement. So for the applicant to comply with this requirement, what would they need to do? They'd have to purchase additional property. That's if an adjoiner would be willing to do that for them, and they would have to at least double the size of their property. And to me, that creates a hardship for the applicant. We also need to look at or make sure that the variance, if approved, is not going to impair the intent and purpose of our land division ordinance. So I've listed all the purpose statements as I always do below here. And then my response or staff response is in underlined and bold. I'm not going to go through all those unless there's a specific question from the committee. So I'll keep going down. We'll get down to the recommendation. I guess one other thing, we have to make sure the variance is not contrary to Wisconsin statutes or Wisconsin administrative code. And I don't believe that it would be. So finally, recommendation is for approval. This just seems like a no-brainer to me. It makes really good sense. I will go through the rest of the packet. Here's the application that was submitted. They have paid their fees. We have a complete application. They have a letter here. I think it's interesting to note when Steve and Diane came in my office to submit everything, and logical questions, how long has the home been there? He said, well, I don't know. The current home isn't that old, but there's etching in the foundation and the concrete from 1878. So or actually 1879, I'm sorry, home's foundation. So we know the foundation under the current home was there in 1879. So it's been there a long time. So they have a letter in here, I guess, just kind of outlining their request and why they feel it should be granted. And again, they can't be here today. So hopefully that letter will speak on its own for them. Here's a copy of the map. Here's just the copy of our parcel mapping. So you can see the 3 lots right here. If you know where Gilbert's of Sand Creek is, just east of the dealership showroom, they have a lot with their vehicles sitting here, and it'd be just across the street from that. So it's 1, 2, 3, these 3 platted lots. It just kind of gives you a perspective of how the property is currently being used. And then, of course, we went through the original plat. So that concludes my staff report. Again, we're recommending approval of this, and I will turn it back over to you, Tom, if there's any questions.
Any questions?
Just a couple, comments. For one thing, the town of Sand Creek is unzoned, right?
Correct.
Right. And then it seems like we're always worried about making lots smaller. And here they're actually taking 3 to make 1 lot. So I think that's going in the right direction. So I'd be for it.
Any other comments? Okay, could I have a motion to variance? Is there a second?
I'll second that. Excuse me, I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion is carried. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Item 10, B. 9B, proposed Lake Taylor Rehabilitation District. Discussion of the initial Board of Commissioners applications. Chase, you want to kind of give us an
bet.
overview of that?
I think it was November 17th is when the first advertisement went out for the application process for the initial Board of Commissioners that you all elected to pursue. That closed end of business day on December 5th, so approximately 19 days that it was available. 10 applicants submitted applications for the initial Board of Commissioners. Those 10 applicants and their applications are included in the packet. They are all residents of within the proposed district boundaries, so they do meet those qualifications. Not only the minimum requirement was to just be a landowner. I think some perspectives may prefer that it was landowners or residents as well as just landowners. So all of these individuals are residents. Those individuals, if you notice in the packet, are Dennis Coppernall, Jerry Porter, Kent Henshin, Al Brown, Tom Wendt, Pete Heimdahl, Tom Bills, Zach Raff, Adam Mux, and Gary Peisig. And Grant Peisig. Yes, thank you. So those individuals are in the packet. Right now, I guess it's going to be up to your decision as to how you want to proceed with the election and selection of those individuals. Currently, this committee has the ability to recommend to the full county board for 4 individuals to serve on the initial Board of Commissioners. 3 of them, it's anticipated, would come out of this application process. And one of those individuals would be a representative of this committee or a representative of the full county board. If there is not anyone interested as a county board member to serve in this capacity, then I think it'd be my recommendation that one of the applicants that submitted their application be considered. There was some discussion at the last meeting about process for the county's appointment of the initial Board of Commissioners and the appointment that would last through the permanent Board of Commissioners, if you will. Permanent is probably not the best word, but mainly looking at a 2-year term to coincide with county board elections. So after the county board election process, typically by May 1st would be a suggestion to either reappoint the representative from the county board or confirm a new appointment in that capacity, and stick with that 2-year time frame to coincide with county board elections. I guess with that, consideration for what's within statute when evaluating these applications, as well as the appointment for a county board representative. Section 33.29 of the Wisconsin statutes talks about the Board of Commissioners, the officers' powers and duties. And in there, it lays out some of the things to consider for the role that the Board of Commissioners would have. And that, includes, carrying out lake protection rehabilitation projects, securing funding, maintaining good working relationship with those within the district, following the standards, procedures, and guidelines within statute. All of the basic things that you would, I would assume would be part of serving on a committee like this. And I think it's recommended that individuals that have demonstrate a care and a passion and a true interest in serving on this, not only the initial Board of Commissioners, but in the case of the county appointment, the final Board of Commissioners, that they aren't simply just a representative to the county board, but they actually find interest in the projects, the procedures that are in place for and authorities that are granted by the statute, and then also would report back to either this committee or the full county board with projects and progress within the Lake District itself. So With that, I guess I'll turn it back over to you, Tom. We can have a longer discussion. I'd be happy to answer more questions.
Great.
These initial, commissioners up until the annual meeting, what actual power would they have? Because they have no budget or nothing, so is it just mostly like ceremonial, or what power do they actually have?
They actually have the full power of the Board of Commissioners, that would, eventually the final Board of Commissioners would have, so they can act immediately, in the capacity for the Lake District. With the exception of there's a 30-day appeal process window, following, an approval by the county board. With beyond that, then this initial Board of Commissioners would be able to act in the capacity of a Board of Commissioners. So establish officers, proceed with any action that's allowed in statute.
Now, any kind of taxation requires an annual meeting though, right?
Correct.
So they couldn't tax, or they couldn't do anything like that.
That's correct. Yeah.
So in effect, they couldn't start a program. They really can't do much.
Yeah, I guess when you look at it that from that perspective, you're correct. By statute, they do have the ability to act in the capacity of a Board of Commissioners. So to organize and set the process, set the annual meeting date, time frame, but certainly special assessments, taxing authority, major projects would typically happen at a special meeting or the annual meeting. You're correct.
Okay, so one of the main things that they have that seems important is setting a time for the annual meeting. That could be set very soon in the winter when a lot of people aren't there. It could be set as a time frame a little later where more people might be around too.
So by statute, each annual meeting must be scheduled during the time period between May 22nd and September 8th, unless scheduled outside those dates by a majority vote at the previous annual meeting. So the first annual meeting would need to take place within between May 22nd and September 8th.
Okay.
Would this initial board have the capacity to solicit foundation and other grants? Assuming that that's possible?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
Let me clarify a little bit more under 33.27 initial Board of Commissioners, parent 4. The board may make an initial assessment of all taxable property within the district to raise funds to pay organizational costs and operate the district until the receipt of the tax voted by the first annual meeting. So the manner of making the assessment shall be within the discretion of the board. So there is some authority on that. I have backup.
That's what we have here too, right?
Yeah. Any other questions? So we had decided that we would do this process, and thanks to the staff for putting this together. And I think it's great. We got these applications, very thoughtful comments on them, I think, and some really good people to pick from. So my suggestion, and I think this is what we talked about, would be that we have these applications, we should review them. It seems to me like a process would be at our next meeting, we are going to be considering the what do you call it? The order that will be forwarded to the board. So to include in that order, the suggested nominees for these positions. What we could do is just be prepared to, and I'm open to other suggestions. We could be prepared to vote, and I'd suggest by ballot to start with, and then just see if who what the count comes out at, and if we need to take a second vote, we could do that until we come down to the 3 top people, and then hey, does that seem like it makes sense to people? Anyone have another suggestion? I mean, taking into account the fact that a lot of this initial board's role is to sort of set up the framework for the ongoing operation of the district. Yeah.
That sounds like the only logical way to do it, but there is some concern. I think it's important to include at least one member of the organizing group. But then I don't think it'd be a good idea to have 3 members of the organizing group. So I don't, it seems like the vote was so close, 50-50, and the most the feedback I got was, gee, I didn't know about this. I wouldn't have voted this way, or I would have.
Yeah.
So it'd make the original board, I think, more legitimate if there was a variety of people on there. So I don't know how that would happen with a ballot vote, but
Well, we could do initial ballot vote, which determined initial preferences, and then we could, I mean, we're not bound by any legal structure, how we do this. And what I think that we've operated under so far is, let's try and find a reasonable and consensus driven process to move this forward. And I think with the points you just made are really valid points. So we could agree that we will do an initial ballot. We'll have a discussion at first about potential considerations we might want to have. We've already kind of had that a little bit. We could do it today too. But then do the initial ballot and then take a look at that and say, well, is this balanced kind of, and agree or disagree whether or not we want to modify it. It won't be perfect, but it'll be, I think, the process will be fair and transparent. Okay. And then we do have the county appointment, the 2-year appointment that would now be appointed to fill until the next term of the county board expires, I guess. And with that, are we making that, is a suggestion that we make that, or are we making that a position appointed by the county board chair? Do you, Nick, have any thoughts about that, or council?
So basically, I think the suggestion would be a 2-year term, and would expire April of 24 to coincide with the election. And as far as who makes that, I think the suggestion, what's suggested in statute is that it be a land conservation committee, or in this case, PRD committee representative. But if not one of those representatives, then a member of the county board. So I would, I think the process is open enough to where you can establish how you would like to do that. So if it's the PRD committee that would make a recommendation for an appointment to the full county board in those years that it's renewed, I think that would be a wise.
It's like the typical way we make appointments in the county. So we'd follow that process. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Anything else on the Lake Association discussion?
Just thinking about the timeline. So I know there's a decision to be made yet on next meeting date. If a December 27th regularly scheduled committee meeting is not going to be held, then our committee meeting packets will be out on the 3rd of January, which will include the draft order with the blanks that will fill in after the decision of those initial board of commissioners. So that draft order will come back, and then we'll proceed for the January 10th committee meeting. I'll need to go to the executive committee on the 11th of January, and then to the full county board on the 18th. So that's the process that will be followed, unless there's more discussion held on the 27th. But
yeah, okay. Does that make sense? Have we got this clarified, do you think? And do we have any? The one thing that's not clear is how are we going to decide on the county representative? And I guess maybe the way to do that is for us to each consider whether anyone from this committee wants to be on there. And then two, whether there are supervisors we know of who would be particularly good representatives, and reach out to them and encourage them to agree to serve. And then we can consider all of that at the next meeting also. Makes sense.
Mr. Chairman, have you done any outreach with?
I have a little bit. I've identified a couple of people that might be interested. I don't know if anyone in the committee is interested.
Mr. Chair, can I ask that you get a little closer to your microphone? I'm having a hard
I'm
time.
sorry. I apologize.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I really do apologize for that. I have talked to a couple of people who have expressed interest, one in particular. So, and I don't know if he wants his name being mentioned at this point in time. So until he formally says that, I probably wouldn't mention it. But so there will be at least one I know of that's going to put his hat in the ring for that. Who would qualify, I think, as a resident of the district, actually. So
That's what I'm thinking of too. Are you interested, Mr. Chairman, in
no,
serving?
no.
Okay,
No. Anyone else here?
Michael,
no. Monica?
you don't have to be resident. No, it's a good idea though.
We're
I
hearing
couldn't
nothing.
hear what Gary just said.
Gary, flip on your mic.
Okay. No, I just asked if, Michael
Mike was
would be interested in it, because he does a good job on everything.
Thank you. But I think it'd be better if it was a resident. Or at least a landowner, so.
Okay, well then, that's as clear as we can get it today, I guess. Any other items again on the Lake District that people have questions about? I did a to go back to an earlier point, and it's not a big deal, but it was good to know the mailing that went out on the water quality thing, which I really appreciated that going out. I didn't know that he had done that. But the one thing that I would suggest is, as we go forward, if we do anything like that again, is that it was not clear to me that it was like a county program. I mentioned, I think Dunn Health, right, kind of a little bit, but in the interest of being more our desire as a county to let the people of the county know more clearly what it is we actually do. Maybe just a little more clarity about, okay, this is where this is coming from. And the Land Conservation Department, I don't think was mentioned, and it probably should have been, and the Health Department for that matter too.
There were some comments on social media thanking the Health Done Right action
Yeah.
team for doing this. My
Right.
comment was, well, not exactly.
Yeah, so that confusion
Thanks to land conservation.
yeah, but I could see now why, if it wasn't done by our staff, maybe that would be an oversight. Yeah.
We appreciate all the help that all partners
Right,
provide.
yeah. And yes, and I think in any partnership should be noted too. So if there are other people that are helping with it, we should. But anyway, that's all I had. Any announcements?
Well, I have a question for Tom. Was it your birthday on Sunday?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so Tom's a year older then. That's an announcement.
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
I do have one announcement too. I got some save the date cards here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fortunate to be on the Red Cedar Watershed Conference Planning Committee, and we met yesterday. And so if you want to take a couple of these, registration is available right now for the March 9th, 23 conference.
So I'm, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm sort of confused about where we are now with the candidates for the Tainter Lake Board. Are we gonna act on that today or are we waiting until the 27th? Or
My
the
suggestion is that
whatevers.
we wait till the next meeting. And then we have a ballot prepared at that meeting that we can,
Okay,
is that okay?
sure.
I thought I was clear about that. I'm sorry if I wasn't.
No, I wasn't clear about timing at all.
Is that all right with you, Dan?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's okay with
Everybody
everybody
else?
else.
Yep, that's okay. Just one question for the county manager. It seems like all of our departments are coming in with a surplus to go into the fund balance. So how's that looking countywide? We just had a couple that said they're having money, budget overruns, or not overrun, but budget surpluses. So is that looking pretty healthy for the fund balance, for the county fund balance overall? Cool.
Hello.
So our CFO, Beata, just completed, so you saw the first kind of look at it today of the roll-up. She's completed for every department a tool to allow them to do accurate projections. And she's just tweaking that to make sure that that works. We haven't previously had a resource to be able to roll up the entire county financials and to take a look at it. And so in part to the conversations about potential borrowing for next year and wanting to know sort of mid-year where we are at, she built a tool and she's working with the departments to make sure that it's accurate. But at this point in time, from everything that I've seen, I don't have any reason to believe that there will not be a surplus.
Okay, because that would really help if we could have some kind of outlook like in October before we vote on the budget in
Absolutely.
November. It'd make a big difference of how we
Absolutely.
present it to the board. So
Yep, no,
Okay.
that's totally the goal. Like I say, it's the difficulty always is in projections and delays in receiving revenue. So if you just take a point in time look at our financial picture, it doesn't tell you whether you spent a ton of your money in the first half of the year and won't repeat that in the second half of the year, or whether or not your revenues are all up to date or some of them are waiting to come in. So the tool that Beata has built is going to be very, very helpful. And it pulls the numbers right out of our financial system, but then it manipulates them to get us the right numbers for
because I would
projecting.
think that as time goes on, later in the year, those projections are going to be a lot more accurate.
Absolutely.
So I mean, like, you do one in January, that's just a guess, but you come back in October,
Yes,
that should be
most
pretty,
definitely. No, I think it will have so many valuable applications and it will create a uniform reporting structure. So whether you any of the committee meetings that you went to, you'll see the financial reports in the same format, which I think will be really helpful as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would suggest number 11 that we skip our December 27th meeting unless there's some pressing reason to meet.
Now I'm confused again. I thought we were gonna vote at December 27th,
No, we vote in January.
January. Okay.
There's time in January to vote. That's when we'll vote on the order.
Right.
And so we'll include that, and then we'll fill in the blanks on the order for those names. Okay. So is it okay with the committee if we skip the 27th and not meet? Okay. So our next meeting would be, what's the date again? The January
I believe it's the 10th.
10th. Okay. January 10th. Going once, twice, anything else? Otherwise, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.